Good early morning from northwest part of the town of Moores. And you're in what we think is going to be a unique experience. The sign says it's a unique area. You're watching what's going on here. I'm Bob Venn. Our guest this morning, Leonard Patre. You recognize Leonard. Good morning, Leonard. At just 8 o'clock. And it says the Gulf, which I'd heard a lot about, but don't know if it's true. It's an area that's very unique, and we're going to talk about it when we get there. It's 2.6 miles up this trail through those woods someplace, and we're going to be walking in to the Gulf, and we'll give you some pictures. And Leonard, we hope, he's the authority this morning, and maybe there may be another man in there. We heard another man went in real early this morning, and we might meet him in there. He likes to go up in the Gulf to have his coffee. We'll check on that a little bit later. Thanks for watching what's going on here. Every Sunday night at 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock, midnight, and 9 the following morning. And you can see there are no restaurants up here at all. So we've eaten or drunk whatever we wanted already this morning. Thanks for watching. There you are. Yep. Let's just get them. And before we start taking the trail in, we're going to show you, or Leonard's going to show you where we are, and so you get an idea where we're going. Leonard, give us an idea. You're holding that. This is Cannon's Corners, right about in this area, right here.
And down below is Ellenberg Depot. So the Gulf is basically almost due north of Ellenberg Depot.
Okay.
I wanted to show everybody where this is in case we don't come back out, so they know where to look for us.
Yes.
It does show this on the topographic map, and as you can see, it says the Gulf. And we can see all sorts of trails up here, and this is the state trail sign that we just looked at that we're going to walk in, is one of these old Jeep trails. And you can see from the topographic lines that this area called the Gulf has a chasm, and the bottom of the chasm is about 800 feet in elevation, and the sides of the chasm up in here are about 920. So we're looking at cliffs that could be 100, 120 feet deep into the chasm here where the Gulf is. So we're just staying on the American side. I've been up here maybe 2 or 3 times before, about 10 years and 50 pounds ago. But this, I always came in from the Canadian side for some farms on Covey Hill. We went as college field trips.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never really come in from this way, so this will be a new experience for me too.
Okay.
And some of the area, again, we may not see because we probably won't be crossing that Canadian line to see where this leads into.
Okay, we're showing you this before we start walking, and we don't want to carry the map in. We got enough to carry without that. Is there anything else you want to show us on here, Leonard, at all? This is all wooded area.
Right, it's all wooded area.
There are no roads going in.
A little bit of swamp that we may have to carry through, and again, I don't know what it's going to look like because I haven't come in from this way.
Right, and I've never been in, Calvin's never been in, but you've been in a couple, 3 times on the Canadian side.
A couple times Canadian side, and it was a nice dirt road that led right down to a little lake. And if I remember right, the little lake was like a grotto. Okay, had steep cliffs around the lake and the pond, and they actually had some stairways and maybe a little camp down in this area, but it all belonged to the farm up in Covey Hill.
Okay, when we get up there, we're going to talk about the theory, how it was formed, and what it's the purpose of it in nature, etc. And then you'll be getting some views rather than right here in the middle of the woods. Anything else, Leonard, before we go in?
I'll just wish us luck. We're on our way.
Okay, listen, by any chance, if you don't see this, then you'll know we didn't come out. We just walked in a little over 2.5 miles or so, if you keep track of the paces. And we're in an area now where we're told that you start going downhill, and it's probably 150 or more down to this. We just saw some black water, and you can see that it's not the easiest terrain here. But we're on our way down, and we're going to see water very, very quickly, and you're going to be very surprised because I am, and I'm just seeing it from a distance. Come on down, Leonard. We'll be right back to you. Hang on to your camera. Okay, we are, I guess, at the one location, at one location that we are probably going to see all we're going to see, mainly, right? Unless we're looking through some trees. And this is, if you look at, you don't ever seen black water, look down below. And it doesn't seem to be very much of a current, but obviously there must be. And we'll kind of turn this over to you, Leonard. Let me give you the mic here, and you just tell me a few things before I ask you questions.
Okay, like I said, the last time I was here was at least 10 years ago, probably more. I've come in this area 2 or 3 times, and every time it was through Plattsburgh and Dr. Phil Walker, who I believe recently passed away. He was my advisor in college and the field ecologist. So every time I had come in here, it was with him and a group of college students, mostly studying botany or ecology, not so much in the earth sciences, but more in the field of biology, which was my major in college, is biology, but I minored in the earth sciences, and happened to be the job I got 20 years ago when I started teaching. The geology of this area primarily, as Calvin pans across at the cliff over there, you can see the layering of the cliff, which tells you it's a sedimentary rock. It's most likely part of the Potsdam sandstone formation. So the rock itself is pretty much the same stuff that you find in Ausable Chasm, that the Ausable River cut through. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, now, when you say the river cutting through, now, you'd have had to have some flow in order
That's
to,
right.
to eat up this rock, right?
And that's probably the only reason why you see this. It looks more like a canyon than it does just a kind of a deep set lake. And actually, it is a canyon. If you can, Calvin, can you see the marker across? Okay, that's the Canadian border. So we can say we're right on the edge here. And it runs kind of diagonally across over towards your left. So most of this part right here is on the U.S. side. Now, the 2 or 3 times that I've come in here, we always came in from that area of the cliffs up there.
And you've ended up on that area?
So we ended up in these ledges and those cliffs. So you could
Okay.
see much better down into the area called the Gulf, which is all of this plus the big basin, which is far over to the right. Maybe Calvin can come over after and stand on this little ledge over here.
Way out here in the
and
point.
see if
We'll
tie a rope on it.
Yeah, make a note right here, Calvin, that you see that this rock we're standing on is pulled away anywhere from 8 to 10 inches away from the rest of it. And you may see a first, so don't leave your TV station here.
Yes. Our guide said this has been here since he was a child, and his grandparents too, so we hope it lasts a few more minutes anyway.
Right. Now, you remember, you're watching Hometown Cable. The program is called What's Going On Here, and we're at the Gulf, a unique area in the northwestern part of the town of Moores. Go ahead, Leonard.
I know a lot of people have heard of this area, and some have asked about it and said, what's really there, and is the water as deep as legend says it is? And we've got about, according to the contour map that we looked at just before we walked in, maybe 100-foot cliffs, maybe a little bit more. I think if you see in the high ledge over there down to the bottom looks a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And of course we walked down, maybe 25 feet or so to this ledge that we are here, and you can look down, you can see quite a drop.
Yeah.
Now you had just asked a few minutes ago, how did this form? The water looks pretty still. This is one of the glacial features of our area, and we have many because this area was covered by a large ice sheet in the area 15,000 years ago. It started to melt away. And when you've got 1 mile to 2 miles high of ice and it's melting, that's a lot of water. And the water had to go someplace. And many of our rivers at the time just became, much more bigger in volume, in speed, and consequently did a lot of things in a short period of time that they would never do today with the amount of water we have in the area. So even though this water right here looks like it's pretty still, and it's not moving, and it does look fairly stagnant, and I think that has a lot to do with the dark color of it. 10,000 years ago or so, this was a raging torrent, and did a good job of cutting right through this sandstone. Being sedimentary rock, it probably cut fairly easy.
When this was raging through here, Leonard, and it's got to have an outlet someplace,
Right.
Where would this water end up? Down in the lake by small rivers out of here?
Okay, but see, we're looking at your question that you're asking me now looks at the lake as if it is where it is today, and it wasn't.
All right.
Okay. I remember some of the field trips that I did, you find beaches way up in Saranac Lake. Now, Saranac Lake's, I believe, over 1,000 feet in elevation. Like I said on the topographic map here, the base of this that you're looking down in the water is about 800 feet in elevation. And Lake Champlain shorelines were this high. At one time.
They were.
They were this high, yep. And it was called Champlain Sea. Not only was it bigger, it was saltwater a good 10, 12,000 years ago. What happened was as the weight of the glacier pushed the land down. As the glacier moved back up, the land was still recessed considerably. And the ocean came up from the Hudson Valley, right up into this area, at a considerable depth. So, right now, let's say if you live on the shore of Lake Champlain and Rouse's Point, I believe the lake level averages, it's low this year, but 92 feet general in that area. It fluctuates depending on how much water in that particular year. That's the height of the Lake of Champlain right now. So if you're talking about the height of Lake Champlain being in the area of maybe 800 feet or more,
Wow. Yes.
10,000 years ago, well, Rouse's Point was under 700 or 800 feet of water.
Yes, yes. Now, if you're having troubles growing a tree in your yard, you must wonder, because look where those trees are growing over there, right up out of the stone.
Quite amazing, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, they started to come right out of the rock on the side.
And that's going to add to the weathering process of this area as these trees grow. They're making their own soil. The roots are digging in. I think you could see the slides over here. If you look up, you could see all the slides coming down, and a lot of that probably. In fact, you can see some trees lying down.
Yeah.
And a lot of that possibly is that the tree roots just softened up the rock enough that the whole thing collapsed in a rainstorm or in spring water and just slid right down.
When you get right over there, you can see that it kind of ends, the cliff kind of ends and goes back a few
and goes
feet,
back.
Right?
Probably that whole area just fell right down.
Yeah, this area where we're standing is
we
the
hope
same,
we don't see too many tree roots here, and we hope it lasts a little bit longer.
That area? Well, we have a visitor that we didn't know about this 2.6 miles here. This is Leonard Drown. He of maple sugar and maple syrup fame in Moores. And hi, good morning, Leonard. And we thank you. Two Leonards. I'm with the Leonards this morning, the Leonard brothers. And you said there's a cavern over there?
Yes, I've been down in on a snow sled up through the bottom and right underneath that ledge over there that you can see where the rocks have slid down.
Yeah.
There's probably about a 25, 30 foot cavern that goes back underneath
it. It's like a chute, isn't it?
Right.
It goes down.
Right.
I remember the last field trip I had up here. Our professor offered us, the braver ones, to climb down the chimney. It's like a chimney, right? Yeah. And it goes right down to the bottom. And that's how we got to the bottom to explore down there. Some of them went down the chimney, the braver ones, of which I wasn't. I decided to walk down further, and if you walk down a ways further, there is a trail that can easily lead you to the bottom. But some of the younger, braver ones went down the chimney, and the rest of us took the easier route to get to the bottom.
You know, I had thought that I was going to see a round hole in the ground like a big wide well, not something like this at all. I wasn't ready for this. I didn't have any idea this is what I was going to see, Leonard. You've been up here a few times, Leonard?
I've been coming here probably ever since I was 3, 4 years old.
Oh, yeah?
At different times. I've ridden horse, snow sleds, Hondas, walked, every way possible, I guess.
Now, this is state land, do you know?
Yes.
This is state land we're on. Now, did you ever use that cavern at all when you were supposed to be going to school in a good place? Troop officer would never find you there, Leonard.
Never thought of that
Never.
one.
All right. Well, I really thought that I was going to see something different, and that's what we're talking about. We're here because of the Gulf, and we hope that when you hear about the Gulf, and we're going to hear more from Leonard about the Gulf. Leonard, what else can you tell us? He's talking 15,000 years ago. It's hard for us to comprehend a little bit.
Kind of hard to imagine, those lengths of time. When you look, though, however, that the rock that we're looking at is somewhere in the area of 550 million years. 15,000 years ago doesn't seem like too much.
No, it doesn't. No. Now, can you remember seeing the water much higher in here, or is the water low? I thought Leonard Drown said thought the water was low a little bit. Have you any idea when you're talking about it being low, what you're using as a guide?
From what I can see down here where the outlet is, it looks like it's probably about 4 foot lower than normal.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You can see the stain on the rock down there where it's rustic colored.
Yes.
I believe that's where it normally is.
So this water is fed out from underneath those various rocks. The water leaks down through, and the rain, and
very possible. There has to be some springs in this area. Now, we can't see this unless we were able to go up further on this side. But if you follow this up in that direction,
to the left,
it narrows out, and then you lose the canyon, basically. Okay, it kind of settles down, if I can remember right. And then you keep going further, and you follow the stream up. You're in Canada now. Okay, then all of a sudden you come out in this kind of a grotto, and that's what I mentioned back at the map. And the grotto, if I remember right, had some cliffs, something like this, in a big semicircle, like an amphitheater. And there were some people had built some ladders and stuff down, like some steps. But these were some of the farms up from the Covey Hill area, the big orchards and everything. And that was their property. And that's the way we came in. They invited us in as a Plattsburgh state and allowed us to walk down their road, which was much nicer than the road we walked down, because it was all nice paved dirt. In fact, they were driving their vehicles right down to this grotto lake area.
Now, as we look over here to our right, we seem to lose the cliffs. I don't see any cliffs here for the next 300 or 400 yards down. Do you know? It could be back further?
It isn't very long, and maybe Leonard could tell us the length of it. I'm not sure of the...
Overall?
According to the map, it looked like... of course, the map only shows what's in the United States.
Yes.
And from the end of that gulf to here, by using the scale, I got the proportions of maybe a half a mile or so.
It's just sitting there, and there's a lot of wild stories about the Gulf that I've heard over the years. Leonard, Patrick, can you think of any that you've heard, that you have heard repeatedly? I know Leonard Drown has.
Well, the legend says that this water here is bottomless, that, it just goes on forever. So you have the cliff, and then again, how far deep does this go down? It's difficult to tell. No one seems to have an idea or actually say how deep it is. Probably because the water's so dark, maybe that would make it difficult for divers to go down and actually measure. I would assume there's probably underwater ledges. There may be currents, which would make it dangerous for a diver to go down.
You'd think that they could run soundings, though, too. They have radar and the rest of the things you can go down. But maybe nobody cares. It's possible,
We've we've done a little research between you and I, and both of us came to the conclusion there wasn't much written on this thing.
That's right. I've never found anything written at all.
In fact, I went to the college myself this past year and tried to find some things about it, and maybe I didn't talk to the right people. I know one of the doctors did a special on Channel 57 on glaciology, and
the Gulf got involved?
I don't know if the Gulf was on it. I know they talked about the Altona Flat Rock. But as we walked up here, to me it looked like the Altona Flat Rock. We saw the same things. No soil, just mosses and lichens on the rocks, and blueberry bushes, of which I sampled a couple, and they were quite good.
If you look over there on the far side next to that green bush, Calvin, right straight over here, is there water coming out? That's a stick, but look you can see the leaves are heading to our right. There is a small current. You can see them moving slightly. Now, it could be, that's true. Now, Leonard Drown, you've heard some stories and some wild stories about this place living in this area. For instance, depth.
My grandfather made a homemade raft and went out with 2 bales of twine, which I believe were 1,000 feet apiece, tied a rock on the end of it and let it down, and claimed he never hit bottom. Whether that was taken away with currents or depth or whatever, we don't know.
So you're talking there possibility of 2,000 feet into wherever he was anyway, right?
Right.
And still hadn't hit bottom. We're not claiming that's how deep it is, but that's a story that you heard from your father, etc., or from your grandfather?
From my grandfather
himself told you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, bootlegging time. Tell us about bootlegging time, the wild stories.
Well, I hear a lot of stories. Don't quote me on any of
these. No, we're not going to quote you. Let you tell them yourself. We don't claim that they're true, but they're legend. Let's hear a legend.
They claim these old Model T cars that there's maybe 2 or 3 of them down here in the bottom. They used to be running moonshine or whatever. They'd get chased, so they'd come up this back road that we come up and take a stick and set it on the gas pedal wide open, take their material booze out of it, and let the clutch out and let them go. Send them over the edge so that the cops couldn't catch them.
Yeah.
They'd take off a foot, of course, through the woods.
We're not saying that's right at this particular spot, but there are spots probably along the way where they knew, where they don't necessarily have to be this high off the thing either, right? And then I've heard the stories of smuggling the Chinese, right?
They used to do their work for them.
Yeah.
And then I've even heard it goes to the extent of they got rid of them down here.
That's
whether
right.
It's true or not.
They would take money from them. Of course, it's a great legend to perpetuate, I guess, but they supposedly would bring the Chinese people and others across. The border is right there, and then when they would have a problem or just get rid of them and take all the money they had by disposing them here, and they'd never find them.
That's right.
There's not that many people come back here. Do you know, are they still making trips here, Leonard Patrick?
I don't know if the college is coming in now. I haven't taken any courses, field courses, in a few years, so whether they're still coming into this area. I know the professor that used to bring us in here whenever we had a course with him, he retired just about the last time I was in here. I think it was his last year that he was teaching actively.
All right, there are 4 people here, of course. Leonard Patry on my left, I'm Bob Venn, Leonard Drown on my right, and Calvin with the camera. And we're each going to make an estimate of how far we think it is here, from here, to that white post across on the other side. Who wants to go first? But you're seeing your cast iron there with a C. We're going to go in alphabetical order. You know where that leaves me. How far, Calvin? 500. All right. Leonard? Drown?
Closer to 800 feet.
800. What about you, Leonard?
I would have said 4 to 5.
All right, you're closer to what I thought. I was thinking it would be between 300 and 400, but it's very difficult. There's nothing to gauge it by here. And just looking out here, how far is it down to the water? I always try to think of from home to first base, from home plate to left field, or right field rather, out in Yankee Stadium where it's 300 yards. It's very, very difficult here, folks, but
If you fellows were to throw a stone, you would think it was 1,500 feet across.
all right, well, you're saying 800. You've got a reason. Obviously, you know, it's very
You
difficult.
stand up on the top and throw a stone as hard as you can if you have a good arm, and you're very, very lucky if you can reach to the bottom of the canyon on the other side.
Is that right? Okay.
We'll try that when we come right back.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. We'll try it. We're going to be right back to you. We're at the Gulf in northwest tip of the town of Moores. What's going on here? I'm Bob Venn, and we'll be right back. Leonard Drown's going to throw a stone here that's probably 3 by 3 and 1.5 inches thick out. He's not going to try to throw his arm out. He's going to throw it out and just get an idea how far it's going to go out as we go. Without a running start. Yeah, no running start.
Make sure you catch me by the leg.
All right. Here we go. It's going to be out about halfway.
About halfway.
A little over half, I think. There you go. Now that's a pretty good throw, and it's off at an angle too. You know, he didn't go straight across, but that gives you an idea. Oh no, I'm not going to do much here. I'm going to throw one underhand.
Don't throw the mic.
No. Hey, this is going to be like I'm going to show you what Joey Tremblay does. Okay.
I can't even see it.
Joey Tremblay. Well, there are only 2 games. They're 2-1, but behind. Right? You can't see it, Calvin? Didn't throw it far enough.
That's all right.
Count. Who's going to count?
What's that going to do?
Okay.
Count by
See how far it
seconds.
is.
I'll throw it straight
Oh,
out. We'll count by
gotcha.
seconds so it hits the
All
bottom.
right.
Ready?
Yeah, here goes. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 4 seconds.
4 seconds, about 32 feet per second. Give you an idea how high it is.
And if you threw a basketball or a golf ball, they'd both get there at the same time because of whose law is that?
I don't know. I think it was gravity. Yeah,
Oh, is that what that
Isaac
is?
Newton, yeah.
All right. Oh, you mentioned before, Leonard, which is kind of interesting, Lake Champlain being 800 feet deep. There was no town of Champlain at all. It was all underwater.
Everything in the Champlain Valley right about now, as we have known, would have been underwater.
I'm about 102 or 105, I think, where I live on Upper Church Street. And so you're talking even Moores, I guess, is it
Point,
over 80?
Champlain, Moores. The beachfront property would have been up near Cannon's Corners and Saranac Lake and Redford. And
People in the lower part of the county think that the people up north are all wet, and I can see that's probably what they're talking about.
quite a while ago, they were considerably wet. But it's been going down ever since. What's happened after the glacier is the land has bounced back up slowly. And that's made 2 major things that have happened. Because one of the reasons is why this could have occurred at that time. Now remember, all your major waterways now run either into Lake Champlain or run north. And Lake Champlain runs north into the Richelieu up into the St. Lawrence.
Right.
After the glacier had settled the area down, the land kind of tilted and many of our waterways ran south. Okay, we're blocked to the north because of the glacier, like a big dam. So everything drained south. And that's one of the reasons why, well, maybe it was down far enough that the ocean could have moved up into this area, so Lake Champlain would have been salty. One of the ways we know that is if, well, go right near Calvin's house, the Ridge Road. okay, which is there's a gravel pit back there. And I think that's part of the town landfill area right now, if I believe.
All right.
But I remember I used to go back there when I was younger, and one of the things you could get back there, if you dig into the gravel, were shells, these little white shells. There's 3 different species. You find these same organisms today, so they're not extinct, but they live today. But where do you find them? Up like into the Gulf of Labrador, where you have cold, salt water. Same organisms. So here we found them in Lake Champlain in the gravels that were deposited 10, 15,000 years ago, which means that we had these same cold, salt water little clams and oysters that lived here too. And that's one of the indications of how we would know that it was salty and the temperature of the water was cold.
Okay. If you're just tuned in, we're at the Gulf in the town of Moores, northwest corner, straight due north from Ellenberg Depot, right on the border. As a matter of fact, that white post on the far side, right opposite me here, either 300 to 800 feet across, is Canada, the Canadian line, Canadian-U.S. line. What we're saying to you is that if you know anything about the Gulf, if you have anything in writing, if you know of anything in writing, please contact me in Champlain, Bob Zinn, or Leonard Patry, or Leonard Drown in Moores, or Calvin, and tell us what you got, and if there's anything in writing, give us a copy of something. We'd like to know more about it, and if we do, we'll try to get it out at a later time. We just changed the battery on this microphone, so if you see that it's louder or better or worse, that's the reason. And while we were taking a break, the 2 Leonards here are joking at Calvin and I, because Calvin's over there with 2 hands on the trees hanging on, and he's holding it just with his chin on the camera, and I'm staying as far away. You see where there's no moss right here, Calvin? You see this area? That's where people stand a lot to look. And where I'm standing, if I came often, it would be just like that, because I'm not going out there, see? But Leonard, all right, tell us a little bit more. Does any of the St. Lawrence, this can't drain into the St. Lawrence, it's the wrong way, right?
It's the wrong way now, right?
It's
going down this way away from the St. Lawrence. Probably if there's brooks or something that feeds into it, eventually goes into Lake Champlain and then up to the St. Lawrence. One theory that I've heard is that when the glaciers were melting back, that the actual St. Lawrence River was blocked, and that the water tried to get out someplace from the Great Lakes, and this might have been a channel where the water was flowing south trying to escape, and that's how come you had so much water and it could carve such a big area. You know, you might picture this as something maybe looking like the Colorado River with, you know, tremendous amount of water and rapids, and but once the glaciers melted, that water source was gone, and the land started springing back up, and the whole drainage of the area changed.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's hard to imagine this being here with what you see, because it was so different when it was formed.
So that we know there had to have been water up where we are at one time.
It's very possible it could have been right up here.
You know, because something had to wear off those rocks on the side over there, you know. Now, we were just talking also, and Leonard Drown changed his mind here as to where that cavern is. We thought it was way over at the end when we first talked, next to that white birch tree, way over in the far side. But now he thinks he sees this, what looks like a big woodchuck has dug something on this white birch straight across from me, and he thinks that's where the cavern is now. And Leonard, you said there's a chimney like that comes down into there from up above some way?
From what I remember, it was very similar to this crack that we are standing next to here, but much wider.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it had given away. And I remember that a couple of the students could actually, they kind of squeezed into the crack. And once they got by that, it was open down inside, and they could get finger holes and climb down.
Well,
it was adventurous.
Okay, my first question would be why? Why would you want to do that?
I have no idea. They had a smile on their face when they got down. That's all I know. But
and, you know, I suppose that you look above down here, maybe 20, 30 feet above the water, it looks like there could be a path that you could walk. It looks pretty clear there, and I guess you'd run into trouble along here, but you could walk along there. Now, obviously, from what I see, most of these stones are only in this 800 or 900 feet area here, and then it kind of drops down to the regular, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a long canyon, because the elevation of the canyon seems to drop as you go that way. And we're trying to talk Calvin out onto this ledge so he can peek around a little bit down in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like a swamp as you open up in there. So that's kind of where the drainage is going right now. And then it drains out maybe some little brooks or seeps into the land.
Mm-hmm.
Another theory I heard about this is possibly what they call a plunge pool. Remember Niagara Falls, as the falls goes over, it dug out kind of like a canyon, and it just kept falling back with time as the ledges go, making a canyon back up a ways. Okay, and that's a possibility of what this could have been too, that there could have been a major waterfall up in that area, and or started down in this area someplace and worked its way backwards.
I think if we were on the other side looking, we would find that we are standing nearly on air here. This is actually jutting out from the main land here, or from the hill, quite a bit. I don't know how far, but because there's a, when I look over here, I can see back about 8 feet back that way. You were talking a little bit about moss before, and I didn't know what you were referring to. You want to ask?
I'm talking about up to the lake up above here. There's some kind of a moss covering over it. And also on this ledge, you're talking about a 15, 20-foot backup underneath it.
There he is.
So we're hanging out in midair. But
Yeah,
I think Leonard can kind of fill you in a little better on the
out of
bottom.
this, Bob.
Well, I know he's talking me out of it here.
Well, you find carpets of moss like that quite commonly in the Adirondacks. It's sphagnum moss, and they're called bogs, okay, where they start growing out, and it actually forms like a layer of soil over the small pond where there's no drainage area. You would never find anything like that in moving water. So in the Adirondacks, where you have small lakes that have, they're like little pockets or little kettles that were carved out by the glaciers with very poor drainage, they have high acidity in the first place because of all the rotted leaves and pine needles and things like that running down into the water. And it would make it almost look like a rich tea, an organic tea. And I think maybe that's why we have a lot of the dark color here too, because we have kind of a similar situation. Now, in this stuff isn't very biotic. In other words, there's not much living in it because the acid count is very high in terms of fish and things like that. But the sphagnum moss will grow on the top of it because it's quiet, and it gets thicker and thicker. It dies and it rots and it gets thicker and thicker. So it almost forms like a floating mat of soil, a carpet over the
You're indicating
water.
a foot or more thick?
Probably even thicker than that.
Is that right?
Again, on some field trips, I've been on the ones up in Anchiata. Public is not welcome usually to go out in these things because they're quite protected. As a very delicate ecosystem that's involved. But as study groups, sometimes you can go out onto these. And they call them quaking bogs. I'm not going to jump up and down on this ledge to show you what would happen, but if you kind of move up and down, the whole thing just like an earthquake.
On the bogs.
On the bogs, and it kind of... And they're actually a lot of fun. I've
Yeah,
been out in
yeah.
both the
Sounds
winter...
like a lot of fun.
I've been out in the winter and the summer. The winter's a little more secure. They do shake a little bit more in the winter because they're like semi-frozen. But the key thing that we were always taught is to avoid the dark spots. And if
Closer
you
to
don't
the water,
avoid,
maybe?
well, see, the thing that looks like solid land
Mhm.
with like cranberry bushes
Mhm.
on it and some orchids and pitcher plants. A lot of, the pitcher plants, when the insects get inside and they
Mhm.
get trapped, these bogs are loaded with pitcher plants. So that's basically went out there to study. But the rule is, if you see a spot that looks darker than the rest of the area, don't go on it because you may find yourself completely submerged underwater, maybe under the bog.
That's the mouth of the bog. That's where they get their nutrition. Anybody who walks out there.
Oh yeah, that's true. We've lost a few students on some field trips, but most of them we fish out. You just throw a sinker and a rope, and they grab on, and we pull them out. No, we've gone in. We've fallen in. But the most I've seen someone fall in was about up to his neck in December.
Is that right? Well, I'll tell you. As you look out here, you look like you're looking into a black ink well. Really, absolutely dark. And I don't know if the water is dark like that, but when you look down, you see nothing. So we're here at the Gulf, the unique area, it says on the sign, 2.6 miles back, and we're just about finished here. Is there anything else you want to mention, Leonard, that I have not asked you about the area?
Well, I have one thing. I'm very glad I could get a chance to come back in here again. I thought I may never see this wonder of the North Country that very few people have seen. A lot of people have heard about, and some people have lived here all their lives and never knew it existed.
Exactly.
It is on the topographic map, like I showed you, so it's a recognized landmark. And I was a little bit surprised that they did have the signs that mark the trails up into this area. I didn't even know that was here.
Well, those who have never heard of it or have heard of it, never seen it, as a result of Calvin's camera here in our little show, and Leonard's comments and yours, Leonard Drown and Leonard Patry, we know a little bit more about the history of our area. We haven't done many nature studies, and this certainly is a nature study, a nature mystery, a nature phenomenon, really.
Not only a mystery, but in terms of the geologic area, but a lot of people come in here to study the flora. There are supposedly some plants in this area on the Canadian side and on this side that are unique to this whole area of the country.
All right, we didn't see any animals walking in here at all, but we think a big woodchuck made that hole across there that Leonard Drown was talking about. And Leonard, thank you very much also for your comments. And
Appreciate coming with you guys. Enjoyed it, and I've been coming here for 35 years, and Leonard has helped me to understand what the hell this began.
okay, and of course, when we did the sugar show and we were talking about the Gulf, and you talked about your grandfather with the twine, and that's why we'd like to have you along here. Our main reason is for your stories, and you also show us this, we don't get lost back in. We'll know what is east.
You're on your own to go home.
Thanks a lot. All right. We got a long walk back, and we want to show you the map again when we get back to our car and kind of re-emphasize where you are. And any map of the area, the town of Moores, will show an area called the Gulf, just above Cannons Corners to the northwest of there, although it won't see water, but it'll show the area says the Gulf on the county map. I saw it last night. My wife said, "Where's the Gulf?" And I showed her last night where it was on a map. Thank you very much also, Leonard. We'll be talking to you out by the car.
You're welcome. I hope we make it back.
Okay. What's going on here? Sunday night, Channel 21, Hometown Cable. The cast iron, Calvin's channel, we will say. And we weren't on this past Sunday night. There was, I guess, Disney. But this will be on, well, I guess it's going to be at the middle of September. And we're always glad to hear your comments, and we hope you enjoy this type of thing. And if you do, we may find some more in our area that people could lead us to. Thanks much for watching.
3 seconds. Okay, now. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Calvin. I'm looking down here, and you can see the shot. I can't see very well, but you can see how he's taking a picture right now that was behind me when I was standing a couple of minutes ago. It's down underneath this great big rock. And it'd be nice to... This is not what I expected. I expected to see an open field around here, and just completely different than I expected. And the trees, the leaves here prevent us a real good view, but you can see where there's some floating trees and some things down the side here, and there's some like little islands in the middle of the water.
You may have a bog area starting in that area. I can't tell from up this high, but it's a similar type of thing that you would see on the bogs down there, where you could see some small trees actually starting to grow up on it, and that's all growing out onto the area.
Are we talking here probably would be in the main area, you would think, of the Gulf, right where we are? This you would think would be likely to be the deepest, or as deep as any other place?
This is it. They talk about the deep water, and they talk about the bottoms, but this area right through here is what they're talking about.
Calvin's looking off now down to what was our right before, and he's a foot and a half from the ledge on behind and into his left, and we don't want him to go left or backwards.
We can see a little more from the Canadian side, but we don't want to start any international incidents.
No, all right, all right. Well, we can see Canada from here.
We're starting to climb back up here. As you can see, we were down about 25 feet. Bob and I are about halfway up the cliff from the ledge that we were talking on. And you get some good examples up here of the type of erosion that's occurring. You can see where all the flat sedimentary layers, almost like they're pancaked on top of each other, and how they're starting to break off separately, mainly from the tree roots growing down, snapping them off, frost action. So you can see all sorts of little ledges coming down and how they're forming soil, and of course on the soil new trees start to grow.
As you look right down here about 8 feet in front of me, there's a hole there. There's a hole here big enough to put my foot down, my whole leg down into the ground, and obviously there's another crevice starting there that eventually will fall off 100 years from now, or maybe even 100 seconds from now.
Yeah.
And so if you don't see this, that's what happened, but I don't think it's going to right now.
Colin should probably give us the tape that he's done so far.
Yeah, you think he should give us that, huh?
You never know, that could go right down underneath, right where we were,
yes.
and eventually work out.
Yep. It'd be interesting to see when the rain comes where the rain shoots out between these rocks, because you can't see it. Because it does come way underneath here. I'm located now a little bit higher than Calvin, and probably 25 feet, maybe 20 to 25 feet from him as we look here. And these layers upon layers, anywhere from 3 inches to 8 inches thick as you looked them up here, just like.
And this could be, you know, we might find a situation under the water too. And this is maybe where a lot of the mysterious depth of this place comes in, is that underneath the water, even if it goes 100 feet, we don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
But there could be ledges that go in 20 or 30 feet inside, and with all sorts of possible currents.
We're talking theory today because, you know, usually when you tune in our program, we give you a lot of facts. Not only that I have picked up, but our guest usually has, like we did at the Maple Syrup, the Champlain Telephone Company, the Orchard, and the many others. But today, we're talking mystery here. We're talking theories because no one knows for sure. Even Leonard wasn't around at that time.
No, that was way before me. Bootleggers were way, way before me.
It might have been some in our families.
In our families.
It could very well be,
me,
huh?
yes.
We'd like to do a story on bootlegging maybe sometime if we can get somebody to admit it.
I'm sure there's a lot
Oh,
of people
yes.
that would tell us many stories.
I found a book yesterday, about 80 pages on bootlegging around the Champlain area. One problem, it's all in French. So I am looking for someone to translate it, and there's some very interesting stories and how much money they would make a week and so forth. It was very interesting. Pictures of old Champlain in it, too. We're going to go up the hill.
I'm going to speak loud here because Bob has got my microphone and I'm talking on the camera mic. And this is a view that Leonard Patry had wanted me to get. And we came down a little bit to our right and we got a nice view of this area that is, he says, is turning into a bog, Leonard?
It looks like it's starting to turn into a bog. If you see on the left, you see the carpet that's growing right out into the area. It's very typical of some of the bogs that I've seen up in the Adirondacks.
Now, will the water flow underneath this?
Yes, yep. You can see the drainage area. If you follow right down the middle, you see the channel, which goes right out, and as you walk out, the cliffs get lower and lower.
Leonard Drown, excuse me, mentioned that he had a friend that ended up walking to the left of here.
Yeah, that was up the canyon.
So there's a type of bog there already then, right?
Right. This really narrows out as you go up and the cliffs disappear, and then, like I said, it opens up into this big grotto or lake. It's been quite a while since I've been up there, so I'm just kind of giving images of what I can remember, but there was a bog in that area.
And we should point out too that we are once again suspended in midair. There's nothing but dirt below us, nothing but air. We're out on an overhanging ledge, and I imagine there will come a day when this ledge won't be here. We hope it's not today.
Is that the Allen Brook? That's the closest one I saw.
But you can see the bog starting to develop, and we'll be going to the map when we leave here and show you exactly what we've been looking at once again on the map to give you a different perspective and help you to understand all this. Leonard Patry just found some wintergreen. If you talk loud, we might be able to hear you, Leonard. What do you see down where you are right now?
Well, we're just looking. It was a good area here to see how the cliffs are breaking away. And, you know, if you look across, I don't know if you can see where you are, see where some of the trees have broken down. You can see on the opposite cliff and are just dipping into the water. And you got a good example here when this is going to happen. This big section of rock right here is ready to go. And this whole big, huge pine tree, almost dead, hardly any needles on it, probably because its roots are, you know, starting to just go out into the air, and it looks like pretty soon maybe this one will go down, and then it'll just hang down into the cliff like those and rot away.
I am now down at the area Leonard was just at, next to that pine tree, and this tree is right on the edge, and as he said, it won't be long, and hopefully it won't be too near the time that we're here that this is going to be gone. And it'll look something like that over there probably, or maybe that one down there is a more recent one that may have fallen off. I certainly wouldn't recommend coming here with young children, but it is scenic and it is interesting. Moors area's answer to Au Sable Chasm, I guess we'd have to call it. And we're going to go up above and get one more shot, at least one more shot before we leave. There was a nice area up behind us here. I'm going to go up there and get a shot if I can make it out of here. But before I do, I'm still down at the same level, and here's an example of what's behind us here. The ledge and the rock giving away, being eroded, and the trees growing here, I'm sure adding to the weight and causing all this to fall in.
Before we start walking back out, we just we're up about 25, 30 feet, and just down to the east a little bit, and look at this view here, where you see the black water, and we're up on the very main part of the ledge now, way up. Very safe up here. Even Calvin and I are breathing better now, right, Calvin? A little bit better. But you can look down and you can see what it is, and this is a little clearing in here where people have come in and maybe bring a little lunch in and sit down, I guess. But there's not a lot to do. You've seen it, and you didn't have to walk those 2.5 to 3 miles in here, and we hope you enjoy it. And remember, it's 5 miles because you got to go back. And this is what they're talking about the Gulf. And please remember, if you know something about it or you've seen something in writing, please let us know so we can add it to our files. Well, now that we've been in, we're going to start showing you from the U.S. map, or the northeast here, where we are. Go ahead, Leonard.
Well, here's Cannon's Corner, so it's a little bit northwest of Cannon's Corners, maybe right about under that A in Canada. So that's about where it is on a road map if you were looking for this area.
And right where the dotted line, because we were right at the border.
Right on the border, okay? This particular map, this is one my students would use for Regents in Earth Science. This shows the bedrock geology of New York State. It's not a great detailed map, but we're again right about up in this area, and this dark shaded rock right about where we are in here is Cambrian rock, which is about 550 or so million years old, and that's sandstone, which is the same rock that Au Sable Chasm cut through down here. As you can see, it's the same kind of rock. So look, that's why, again, I look very similar when we looked at the layers. And okay, so it's formed at the same exact time, even though it's in different locations. Now, it might have been down in here too, but it's covered up by the rock that made Lake, that covers Lake Champlain.
Okay. All right.
So
get an idea, and then getting it to where you can really see, we're back into the town of Moores, and this is the town of Ellenburg, I guess, that starts right here. Right. And this is the Canaan Road, if you know that, right in the middle of Ellenburg Depot. It goes up the Canaan Road.
It makes a 90-degree turn here, so if you extend it straight up, the Gulf is between the Cannon's Corner Road and a straight line extended from the Canaan Road. We came in from the Cannon's Corner Road.
And then we are in here, but there's no way you can get up there with a road. You don't get it today.
You have to be willing to walk and travel, and it's, there's a lot of private land up here, so you have to really know where you're going.
Right. So what we're talking about is, now whereabout were we approximately, do you think, on that map?
If you remember what we saw in the video, we were looking up to the left. Here's the cliff wall that we were seeing up in this area.
All right.
Okay, and so there's the cliff wall, and you can see the contour lines very close.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes up into Canada. The lake is up in here. Now, we didn't see that because we didn't go that far.
Well, we must have been up pretty close to here or there in order to be able to find the post.
The post line was probably right
there.
Right
there.
We were probably right about here.
Okay.
Okay, and then when we walked down, some of those last few shots we saw, we walked down about in this area, and you can see we're inside in the United States line. So, and when we looked up to the right, where we saw the swamp forming and some of the dead trees, we talked a little bit about maybe a bog forming. That's right where it says the Gulf in here. But notice that goes back up into Canada too.
Yes.
And Leonard had said that he thought the brook drained up this way, because we can see nothing draining down the other way. So it probably drains up towards the St. Lawrence, back into Canada.
Okay, and we hope that you've enjoyed this little trip up here. And now we're going to go up and show you another landmark and phenomenon that these two people with me have not seen, but I have. Shall I mention where we're going? We're going up the Cannon's Corners Road further into through the border, through the customs, and we're going to take the Covey Hill Road, and we're going to show you what I and others refer to as Magnetic Hill, and you're going to see what is a phenomenon. It's very tough to say it and to see it. We're going to show you. I'm so excited about being there. I want to show these two guys. I want to get their reaction.
I don't believe it.
You're going to see it. You're watching Hometown Cable. What's going on here? And remember, we're on every night. Hometown Cable's on every night, 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock, midnight, and 9 the next morning. And the show called What's Going On Here. You meet your friends and neighbors. People like Leonard, who's willing to come out. Leonard Drown, who was here with us, showing us about this geological... it's a mystery here and how this was formed. We got theories this morning. And we hope you'll continue to watch us. You never know what you're going to see on here on these Sunday nights.
Don't forget any stories that anyone knows about this
That's
area.
right.
We're looking for them.
We're looking. Okay, you usually hear me talking as much or more than anybody else except at the Gulf where Leonard had to say there. But I'm bringing Leonard and Calvin up to show them what we call Magnetic Hill, and it's on what they call Covey Hill, which is a road that runs from just south of Hemingford across here. It's a pretty good sized road. To get here, you would go through the Cannons Corners customs, and you proceed probably 3/4 of a mile till you get to your first 4 corners. And you stop at the 4 corners and turn left. And then you come up, and Calvin's pointing at down where that corners is. So it's just over that, where the red roof is down there. And you come exactly 1 mile, and you'll see a mailbox on your left that's numbered 401. And you'd stop right where I am here on this gravel driveway. And what we're going to do is to go down this hill until we get just about where those that wooden fence is down below. All right? And then I'm going to tell you now what's going to happen. We're going to goose this car and start down this hill and put it in neutral, and I get over that crest, and by the time we get down to that wooden fence, the car will stop dead in neutral going downhill, and then we'll back up the hill to where we are now and attain a speed of nearly 15 miles an hour backwards up this hill. And then to show you a little bit more, we will then turn around and come on the south side of the road facing, and you will make approximately 14, 15 miles an hour from a dead stop. The car can be off, and you will coast over 4 miles if you want to, except there's a stop sign 1 mile from now, and you'll be making up to 60 miles an hour, because this is downhill the other way. So we're going to come up this hill in neutral the second time. And well, is he stopping? Now this car is apparently stopping. Now, no, they're driving. They aren't going to be. They aren't. He's driving, because you don't make that speed right away. Maybe I would think that they are driving, but I can't tell for sure. I don't know whether he's driving or not. He wouldn't pick up that much speed. We don't go that fast, that quick. You start from nothing. Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're on Covey Hill, a place that they call Magnetic Hill. I was brought here by, and I forget his last name, about 12 years ago. And then since that time, I brought maybe 20 different groups up here, or anywhere from 1 to 8 people, to show them this, what I call a phenomenon, Leonard. And we did it once. Do you believe it?
I didn't believe it when I saw this hill running down to that fence, and then as we were coasting downhill, we stopped at the fence, then the car reversed direction and rolled back up the hill all by itself. In our field trip to the Gulf, that defies geology.
Yes.
And it's into the realms of psychology and biology and how the mind and the eye sometimes trick each other.
True. And if you stand here or try to walk in this area right here, and that's a dangerous thing to do, what that man's doing down there, turning around in the middle of the road. But as you try to walk here, your body tells you to lean one way, and your eyes tell you to lean another. So this is, of course, well, we'll do it first and then give you an idea. You're going to have to come do this yourself, or ask me and I'll bring you sometime in your car and let you drive.
Will not be trick photography.
This is no trick photography here at all. So we're going to be doing this very soon. I don't know whether this man knows or not. Now he's going. We'll see if he's going to put his car. It sounds like he's driving. Yeah, he's going too fast. It will not go down that fast. It will. He would have just about now would be stopping if you were not in gear.
We stopped before that.
Yeah, we sure do. So we're going to go do that. I'm going to drive Calvin's car, and he's going to be in the back seat and see what we can do. You're watching Hometown Cable. What's going on here? And we're in just above, about 1 mile north of the American-Canadian border, just north of Cannon's Corner. No.
No.
Your windows are bad.
Okay.
How are things behind you?
Nothing coming. Well, there is one coming.
What?
There is a car coming, yeah.
We'll hold off till this car is coming because we're going to be coming back up the hill.
Yes, we don't want to be backing up into somebody.
Yeah, the guy's...
Hey, we're on our way, and I'm going to...
Which looks apparently going downhill right now.
Okay, and I'm going to goose this car until right here, and now I'm into neutral. Hear that? I'm in neutral.
He's in neutral.
And we are slowing up very quickly right now.
Considering that it still looks like we're going downhill, it looks like you'd be on the brake, but you're not.
I may have gone like it looks like I'm getting to the point, but I went a little further than I would normally go.
Well, we're
if I were in
stopped.
my own car.
But at that speed here,
now we stop, and here now we're going backwards.
Back. We have to watch out
Pull
because
in
there's
the
a
other
car
lane.
coming at us.
Pull in the other
There's
lane.
a car there.
Pull in the left lane.
There's a car
That's all right.
coming after us.
And we're moving pretty fast at a clip right now.
We're moving pretty fast uphill.
Go back into the other lane.
Huh?
We can
Oh,
go
There's
into
a
the
car
lane.
coming.
That might be. We may abort this experiment there. We're backing.
Well, I don't have to go this all the way up. You can see we'll turn around and come up. But it gives you an idea.
I think we got the point that we're going back up the hill in reverse, rolling.
I stopped because there's a car coming
Yeah,
and
we
we don't
can't
want
see
to be...
who's coming over the hill.
Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead again, and we will do it coming up.
This is nothing I'd want to explain in the classroom, by the way, Bob. No.
It's pretty tough to explain this. This man here must see an awful lot of traffic that coming and does it.
Yeah, he's giving us a big smile and a
Yeah,
laugh.
he's cleaning out his, stovepipe. We're going to take a little trip up here, Calvin, just to show you a little bit of Covey Hill. A couple of things here you might want to see. We're still going uphill now, of course. And up here on the left, you will see a big field. And I noticed the last time I was up here with somebody, they had picnic tables. But before, it was just a field he kept mowed and done with a lawn. Now look at here. Now, I don't know if he rents this out to tables or what, but before he never did. It was all nice green grass because of the heat this summer. And it used to be just like one big lawn. All right? This is a tourist area for people out of Canada. They have homes up here, and we're going to go probably about a mile. And there's two things up here. Number one, you will see, is a big tower on the left, which is the booster tower for, I guess it's on the right. I thought it was on the left here. It's the booster tower for the TV stations, Channel 5, Channel 3, I think 57, and a few others. And the signal here was boosted before you have your cable. And this signal, right up here, are boosted out into this car coming down.
Yeah, we're back. Last time we were on, we were at the top of that, showing the towers, but we're just shut off after that. We're now back at the bottom of that hill that we started at. And that car was coming down. Go ahead, Bob.
Right, now the car came down the way we did, and we started backing up from about here. Now I'm gonna, it's in neutral right now. I'm in neutral. The motor is running for the power brakes. We're in neutral, and we're gonna roll up and over that hill and be doing nearly 15 miles an hour when we get to the top.
It definitely looks like we're going uphill, Bob. I've got no problems with that.
And Leonard said we're not going to go all the way to the top the first time. Remember, Leonard?
No, I said, oh, we got to stop or we're going up. And then I realized that we're accelerating.
And here we're going up the hill, and we're in neutral. Here, listen to the motor. In neutral. And if you stayed like this and did not move your motor, I do it when my motor's off, I would coast for 4 miles from starting from a dead stop, up a hill, then of course we're going to go downhill here now.
Well, it looks like we're at the peak of the hill, and this is the driveway we started
That's
from.
where we started.
And we're doing 16 miles per hour.
Yeah, and now we're going to be going down here and really moving as we go down. Now we're really going downhill. I said not that I don't know what happened over there, but you saw it. And
We're still in neutral.
we're still in neutral. We're doing 40 right now. And we're up to 45 now, still in neutral, from a dead stop, uphill, and then over the crest. 50 miles an hour.
Good enough for Calvin shocks.
50, 55, and we're going to hit the brake a little bit here. So as we, because over that next crest, way over, there's a stop sign and a very dangerous curve, 4 corners. This is the 1 mile that we told you to take to get up to that hill. And it's really an unusual experience. Would you say, Len?
I didn't believe it when you told me. I said it was just an optical illusion. It should be easily seen by the human eye. I was wrong.
It still could be an optical illusion.
Why, it has to be an optical illusion unless there's some powers here that no one could explain.
They said it's magnetic, and you go over it with these metal cars, it pulls you up. Here's that bad road we told you about. See, you can't
That's
see
a blind
anybody.
corner, yeah.
He stops once he gets on the highway. Now we can go here, either right to go back to Candace Corners, or we can go straight. Now if we turn right, we can get those rocks in the field, Calvin.
Okay, we'll end up there.
Okay, well,
I think you got to put it in drive now. I think I got to.
We have to put it in drive.
Yeah, still...
No more power.
But that was.
We're now approaching the customs crossing on the Cannons Corners Road. This is our Canadian Customs on the left, where you stop going north. And then this is the American Customs here, a brand new building. For you people who have been through here, remember it used to be in the store at the corners itself. And now we're a better part of a mile up the road, right at the crossing. And it's a new brick building. It's only open 16 hours a day during the summer, and only 8 when it gets to the fall, only the daylight hours.
I can tell Calvin should wash his windshield looking at this.
You can tell through there. Now there's an inspector here or two, I take it. We'll have to see who our the inspector's going to come out and talk with us here.
He'll probably be happy to be on Channel 21 and Channel 29 in Plattsburgh, I imagine.
I'm sure, and he's going to know that he is, and he's got some people in there. I hope he's not holding criminals.
Well, we'll get that too.
Hello, Mr. Gay.
Another science
teacher.
Yes.
Yeah, he likes science. He does a lot of science with his elementary students.
And I meet my relatives all over. That's my wife's brother, Frank Gay, Frank Clement Gay, I believe it is. And we'll just pull up here. We're going to stop, and I refer to this up above here as the rock farm. However, there really are no rock families in this area, but I'm going to show you the rock farm. Well, we've just left the American Customs, and I mentioned we're going to stop to the rock farm, and this is what I refer to as the rock farm. You'd swear they were raising rocks here, because look, anywhere you look here, the driveway on the other side of the house, all along the road here, there's rocks like this. And Leonard, how do you explain this as a earth science person?
Well, this has, again, a lot of similarities to what we saw at the Gulf. It had the same basic origins, and it has to be with the glaciers that were here in this area. If we looked at these rocks and we dug through the soil and we got to the bedrock, we'd most likely find that these rocks are not the same kind as the one that's directly underneath, which means they were transported here from someplace else. And the only thing that could transport rocks of this size would be a glacier. So as the glaciers melted, as they moved along, they would pick up the rocks from other areas north of us. And then when the glaciers melted, they would just drop the rocks. So they're just like dump trucks, you know. They carry the rocks along, melt, and just drop them, and here they are.
When you say north of us, are you telling me that most of the glaciers flowed south?
Yeah, they probably came from, this last one I believe came from the northwest direction into this area.
There's been some about every 15, 20,000 years or more?
They come in cycles. I believe in the last 1,000,000 years or so, there's been 4 major ice sheets. And the last one melted away about, again, we're in the area of 15,000 years ago.
And there's no record of any kind or any theory that people lived before the last.
Well, during the last ice age itself, now whether or not in North America, we think that the Indians came over, the ancient Indians, the Eskimos, they migrated south and then into South America, came over during the last ice age. When all this water in the earth is trapped up into mile-high thickness of ice that covers half a continent, the ocean's got to lower because the water comes from someplace.
Hope you heard that. A mile high of ice.
Yeah, that's hard to imagine. It really
sure
is.
is.
And but what it did is like opened up the Bering Sea, and the Bering Strait became a land bridge. And a lot of migrating Indian tribes, they think, chasing caribou and other nomadic tribes, got into the Americas. So it's very possible that they were here in North America during the Ice Age, but whether they would have migrated over this far while there was any glaciers here, probably not. They were probably here much after, maybe 3, 4, 5,000 years after that.
Okay, if you look out from the field, you can see green grass and they're growing crops out there. And we've been talking about this, whether there was ever this many rocks back there. We can't believe that there were. However, there could have been some, and they've
there
been
probably were some. And most of the fields in this area had rocks like this if the glacier dumped it. If you look around some of these fields, you find often rock fences,
yes,
and the rock, well, they're storage houses, maybe where they kept their meat,
yep,
and vegetables and so on, and that's where they got their supplies.
yeah,
There's plenty of building material, no question
right.
about
If you
that.
look over here, Calvin, on the far side of the road, the other side of the road, you'll see a corner post and some fences over here, and you'll notice they're held up by rocks because they probably can't make a hole in the bedrock that's there. And many times they used to stook up or pile up stones to hold the fence up. And you'll see a few right here even. Here's some right around here, and you see they just got in between rocks here with the fence. But the cows don't come over here too much. There's no feed here very much, so they don't bother the fence here. There's no reason. Although there's nice, I guess they have come over here, but you can see where they've eaten the grass from here way over to here. They push on the fence. That's why there's no grass there. The cows have eaten it because there's not much over there. And they'd love to get over into here. We're on the main road through, from this area anyway, down through Cannon's Corners. We just went through the customs, and this morning, we hope that you've been with us since early this morning when we went in to what is known as the Gulf in the northwest corner of the town of Moores. We're still in the town of Moores. Then we went up into Canada on the Covey Hill Road and showed you that phenomenon up there of going uphill in neutral in the car. Hard to believe, but you were there when we did it twice. Once going down in the rubber band bringing us back, right, Leonard? And then turning around and coasting uphill. And now we're at the farm here on the Cannon's Corners Road. And that's going to be about it for this morning. Any closing remarks that you can think of, Leonard?
Well, I thank Calvin for this opportunity because not only is this going to be, some education to the people of our area, especially the Gulf aspect, in which people have heard and never seen. I hope to use this videotape and maybe some that we make in the future in the classroom. And since field trips are hard to come by, it's easier to bring the field into the class.
All right.
And you can still learn from it.
Yes. Well, listen, we thank you very much also for being with us, number one. Number two, for giving us the educational part of this trip, because I knew absolutely nothing about the Gulf. You had been from the Canadian side, and we're still hoping that if anybody has anything in writing about this Gulf, to please get us a copy so he could use it in school and we could have it in our records. I'm a historian in that sense, and we thank you very much for being with us today. We want to thank Leonard Drown for also leading us in here in that 2.6 mile walk.
Lost without it.
We sure might have. He got us to that one area where we could look out over that precipice, I guess you'd have to call it, and seeing down into that black water.
I think if we were on the other side looking onto where we were standing, we probably wouldn't have been
Wouldn't
there.
have stood there. Well, Calvin didn't stand there as long as we did. All right. Thank you for watching Hometown Cable, as I say, every night at 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12, and again at 9 in the following morning when you're in the new channel area. And if this is being shown in Plattsburgh area on Falcon TV, we're down there from time to time whenever Calvin and myself sometimes think that it's appropriate, something you might be interested in, and I think you'd be interested in this. And this is Leonard Patry from Champlain, living in Rouse's Point now? Rouse's Point now, but he's a Champlainer. His mom and dad are there, was raised there, and he teaches in NCCS, right?
NCCS, right.
And thank you very much again, Leonard.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Bob Venn. Our program is called What's Going On Here. I hope you'll tune in this coming Sunday night for a little different kind of a program. We usually interview people and talk about people, and this time we're talking about places with the help of this person right here, Leonard Patre, our science teacher at NCCS, who took us this morning to the Gulf, northwest corner of the town of Moores. And then we came by this road, the Cannons Corners Road, went into Covey Hill into Canada, where we saw Magnetic Hill, a phenomenon where we went uphill in neutral in a car. And you got to see that to believe it, but it's a fact, right, Leonard?
I didn't believe it, but I saw it.
Okay.
I have to believe it.
All right. And now we're stopped on the Cannons Corners, and we're talking about rocks. And here's a lot of rocks here, but there's much bigger ones on the Gulf. Thank you very much for tuning into Hometown Cable on a regular basis. And remember, if you aren't already a patron, become one. Married, I guess so. Wow, is this warm? Like Monday was Sunday. Good afternoon from CCRS, the Shazy Central Rural School. We've been invited to see the very newest chapter of SAD, that's Students Against Drunk Driving. And we're going to talk to you. Are you the director of the program here? And you are Michelle Orlando. All right. What do you do when you're not with the SAD program? What do you do at Shazy?
I'm the home and career skills teacher.
Home and career. What does that mean to we older people?
Home economics.
Home economics.
Home
yes?
economics. Yes.
Okay. How long you been at Shazy?
3 years.
Okay. And you're from the area?
Yes, I'm originally from Moores.
Moores, New York, Orlando.